Don't worry. Okay, if we're still going at half past, you mean 5:30 or 6:30?
5:30, she will join us.
That's great. Okay, I kind of thought I'd heard 6:30, because if we're still around at 6:30, then
well, our meeting, I thought our meeting was scheduled 5 till 7, so
it is, yeah. But as I say, hopefully we'll be gone through quite a lot of the items by then. So
yeah.
With those apologies noted and having confirmed that we're quorate, should we move to item 2 on the agenda, which is minutes of the previous meeting? This has been circulated. Is everyone happy, one, with a list of attendees, and secondly, with their accuracy? I take silence as being...
Sorry, I was just going to say that the link to one of the reports that was in the minutes doesn't work.
Oh.
This was for one of the draft handbooks.
Okay.
That might be because after the meeting, a while after the meeting, they then renamed it. So
I could explain it.
Do you want to update that?
I will circulate a new link for the draft handbook later. I can't do it at this moment in time.
That's good.
Will.
Okay,
yeah,
that's fine.
I've just had apologies from Anchor as well. Okay, so we're happy with the minutes. So in that case, we move on to matters arising, item 3. Anne, over to you for this. Is there anything you want to just put up on matters arising that is not adequately covered elsewhere on the agenda this evening?
No, I think just to say that the work that sort of comes out of the draft handbook, which is the 3 groups that are working on developing sort of sample schemes of work and sample units, is obviously ongoing and is not due, is due to give an interim report in April with the final report the following year. So that's ongoing. But just if anybody has gone away and done any further reading on either the draft handbook or draft resource, as it is now called, which is probably why there's a link change, or the report card, I'm very happy to try and answer any questions if anybody has any questions.
Okay. Any questions for Anne? Okay, so we now move. No, well, thank you very much. It's very comprehensive. I think there's a good program of work going, and I should also say thanks to all those on the call tonight who have completed the little template that was sent out. Derek Morgan said that he had a better response, that I got a better response from that than he'd had for anything he'd ever sent out. So there you go. So thank you very much. We now move to item 4, which is the membership update. I believe, Anne and Madeline, that we have some new nominations coming forward. Do you want to just share those with the members of the meeting? And then, of course, the process is I will be formally asked to agree them. I think it's Church of England rep, isn't there? Yes. I'll go to you first, Madeline. It's Church of England rep. Yeah.
Yes, there is actually a name I see of somebody I don't know on the invitation list. But I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
And the other
Dolapu is one of our new C of E reps. We went through the area deans and she was nominated by the Church of England and appointed to SACRE. So Dolapu is our newest member. So
right. Yes.
So our Church of England vacancy is currently filled.
Right.
So I will talk to Robin at some point, because at the moment, unless David or Carol step back, we don't have another vacancy.
No.
So,
but I think it's helpful and useful to have someone who's willing to serve as a name in reserve, because we know the membership can be fluid.
Yes.
So I think, Madeline, it was well worth the work on that. Okay.
Yes. Well, it isn't going to be immediate anyway, so that's good. And that's fine. If the diocese appointed them, then presumably they're right. Whereabouts do they live? Or where are they serving?
Where are they serving? Delapu, would you like to tell us? I don't think Delapu is clergy, but I may be wrong. Could you introduce yourself, maybe, Delapu? That would be lovely.
Great if you could,
Yes,
please.
Please.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm not clergy, but I serve as LLM at Holy Trinity Sunningdale. My background is in education. I hold a PhD in developmental psychology, and I recently retired from the Institute of Education, University College London.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's so. And any other updates that we need on that one? I think that means we're now completed.
We are in the Church of England group. Tracy and I have been working on Group C, where we still have vacancies. And yes. Joe from Kennel Lane, whose surname I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce.
McCloskey.
Yes, that one is going to join us, but because both Tracy and Derek seem to have been off work for a while, the nomination does not appear to have progressed at the moment. So
well, that's fine. As soon as it comes through, we can agree that one. That would be fantastic. Yeah.
You're on mute, Anne.
Somebody else needs to mute because there's a lot of background noise when Gareth talks. I think it may be either Carol or Dilip. I'm not certain. Just a possibility.
I think it might be Gareth. You may have turned on the mic on your laptop as well. I'm happy to mute if it helps.
No, is that better?
No, it's still the same.
Is that better? Hello?
Carol, are you able to mute? She may not be as she's on an iPhone. Oh, thank you.
I'm on an iPhone. I'll try and mute it.
It's just we're getting a lot of feedback.
Yeah, no problem. Just bear with me, Mo. Hang on.
Certainly, Carol. I know it's difficult on an iPhone.
It is. Normally it comes up pretty, but I think it's changed the way they've done it, to be quite honest.
Yes.
Normally I can do it no problem, but it's now not coming up with anything. Just bear with me, Mo.
It's one of those challenges. Is the feedback from my end okay now? Is that better?
No, we can hear two of you effectively. There's a huge echo in there.
Okay, hang on.
Oh, so it's not Carol because it's carrying on, even though Carol is now muted. Aha. There we go.
And we can't hear you at all now, Gareth.
Don't we love this technology? Can you hear me now?
We can hear you fine. It just sounds like the voice of God.
Now, don't start.
We'll just go with it. It's fine.
Yes. Is that better now?
Not really.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yes. we can hear you, but there's the echo still. I think.
Yeah, it's just, let's not worry about it. Let's just go.
Fine
keep going.
As long as you don't speak too loudly, Gareth.
That's okay. That's fine. Thank you very much. Let's try again. Let's plug this thing back in. Don't we love technology? Just when we thought we'd. Okay. So I've now got moving on to the next item, which is hang on. So the next item is the feedback on the questionnaires that were sent out to groups A and B. At the moment, I'm collating these, and I'd quite like to circulate them to you and Tracy. I'm just wondering if we should probably, with you, Tracy, Madeline, if we just have a quick call, just feed them all together, because I have had a couple in recently, and there are quite a few that have come back now. Would that be the best way to do that?
You're going to circulate them all?
Just pull them all together, because I have had a fair few in.
Yeah,
I don't think we copied in on all of the responses from that have come through to me and Derek yet.
I haven't seen any of them, no.
Right, okay. Harry, can I give a task to you to work with Derek to get together and pull together all the responses that have come in. I'll put them in a pack and circulate them to Madeline, myself, and Tracy, and then we can just work through them.
And me, please.
Sorry, Anne. Sorry, Anne. Yes. But we have actually had a good response, and initially there are some very helpful comments against all the syllabus. So for colleagues on SACRE, sort of a Berkshire-wide initiative was just to really seek feedback from the initial stage of the syllabus. So this isn't actually any decision making. This was just very early thoughts on this. So these were circulated to members of groups A and B on our local SACRE. And I think there's some fairly rich feedback that has come. But I think I'm absolutely right in saying this is just very, very early initial thoughts, just to give us sort of a flavour for things that people might want to consider. And it's not really any more than that, but I think it's about shaping, isn't it, the next stage, really.
Sorry, Gareth, I was going to say, which questions are we referring to?
And have you got a copy?
I have got a copy. You should have received, Dilip, a document called the concept chart.
Which, yes.
Yeah, I've got that. So I've done that. Yeah,
so
that's the one you've done.
So that's what we're referring to.
Okay, right. Okay.
The aim of that, just to explain, if there's anybody in either group A or B,
I didn't explain it very well. Apologies.
Yeah, that's okay. But I mean, I wrote it. Well, I mean, I wrote it. What I took the questions that are on the current syllabus. And after discussions with the SACRE Hub, we decided that what we needed to gather was the initial responses from all of the people in any of the faith groups. So that's Group A and Group B, and also our co-opted humanists. We know that they're not the only people from a faith background or with a faith, but they are the people who are representing their faith on SACRE. And we've asked them to think about what the content would be that would need to be taught to children at a certain age in order to answer the syllabus questions. And what we're hoping is that the feedback that we get will show us whether A, the questions are suitable, whether there are additional questions or changes to questions that need to be worked out, but also whether we can put together some more comprehensive guidance to support our teachers with the content as they are delivering the locally agreed syllabus. And I've seen Alan's feedback, and that's been really helpful. And he's absolutely right. The questions are not for non-religious worldviews, and we know that, and we knew that when we wrote it. But that was where syllabuses were at back in 2017, which was when we were writing this. So this is part of the reason for the renewal, but that is the reason for doing this particular activity, because that way we're gathering the information that people from a range of faiths think is important to be taught. We probably won't be able to fit all of everybody's ideas into an agreed syllabus, but it gives us a starting point. And if we look at what the Jewish reps in all the SACREs have said, and if we look at what the Hindu reps in all the SACREs have said, we can draw out the most common, the most important ideas. So Kathy, have you also been given one to do? Kathy, as Baha'i?
No, I was just trying to say I haven't received anything.
Right, I will make sure you get one, Kathy, because that would be helpful.
Yeah. It went out.
Please ask a question. Sorry, I apologise for my delay in not sending back the questionnaire. I had some questions and I never got around to asking them. And basically, I'm not clear what the question is. It says, for example, question 1, how do some religions demonstrate that everyone is special? Is this asking for the Jewish perspective on how other religions, or the Jewish perspective on how everyone is special?
Yes,
the Jewish perspective.
I wasn't clear whether you were asking me my perspective from a Jewish perspective on other religions, but it's not. It's purely where it says some religions only refers to mine. Okay, I shall crack on with it.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point to raise. I probably could have pulled that out slightly better in the accompanying email I sent, but I think the key thing is we have got some good rich feedback, and thanks everyone. And obviously when you've done yours, we'll put it all together, Anne, from the Bracknell Forest thing, as you say, we can bullet point out the key things, we can cluster them and then compare them with the rest. But I really appreciate people taking the time to do this, because I think this will form a good starting point for what we're about to go through, won't it, Anne, really? And then we can challenge back. I hope there'll be a follow-up, that when we consult further down the line, there'll be an opportunity to reflect back on how much of that which you have said at this stage has been included. Dilip, I can see your hands up on this one. Over to you.
Come off mute would help.
Yeah.
That button comes in all the way. So I reckon if you read the responses I made, this probably asks more questions than answer anything. And I found, so I hope there is a follow-up, and I think there is greater clarity in terms of what we're trying to drive towards. I think that would help to. I think that the set of questions was very, very useful. Very useful. But just a thought. So let's hope we get that follow-up.
I think it's just a starting point, so we will follow. Anne.
Yeah, we will definitely have a follow-up, because this is the start of the syllabus review process.
Yeah.
So we're not leaving it just at that, and we will certainly be following this up. And I think what we will probably find is that the responses that we get will ultimately drive the way that we reframe the questions in the new syllabus.
Yeah.
So there were some people who immediately replied, yeah, I don't like those questions. Can we change the questions? Well, the answer is, well, ultimately, but at the moment, no, because that is the syllabus. That's what's there. So you're free to put in the comments box that you don't like the question, but we can't change them at the moment. Kathy, if you give me your email address, I will send it to you. I just can't find your email address. It's not coming up in my inbox.
And I think it's a bit fair to say, Anne, as well, that by doing this and by getting the questions right, they will closely tie in with the teaching aids that we've been developing, the films and other things, and the scripts, because they will be that contemporaneous approach to wordsmithing, which I think is really important for schools. So the aim is, I think, to try and match the questions that are asked as part of the syllabus, the shape of the syllabus, and all the teaching resources that are being developed more closely. Whilst I know this is broad for you, but whilst at the same time just reflecting that this is about faith and, as appropriate, worldviews as well. It's that breadth that we have to just sort of balance in this, make sure that we ask the right questions on all parts. Which is why, Alan, it was very helpful, the context of your response as well, just to ensure that we pick up that as part of the process. Because remember, this is the government guidance and the shape for what they want going forward on this. But we want to make sure that the faith context as well is rich and informed. I think that's what I took from this. But I appreciate everyone that's completed it. If you are in those groups and received my lovely email and have left it sitting in your inbox, or lost it or want it again, just let Derek know, or Anne or myself, and we'll make sure that the questionnaire gets out, and then we can just pull things together as soon as we can. But I appreciate those who have responded. Ron.
I think Kathy was before me.
Sorry, Kathy, I can't.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to clarify that this is happening for the whole of the Berkshire. The hub, rather than just Bracknell Forest. Yeah.
Whole of the hub, yeah. It's for everyone. So basically, I got the job of cascading it down to Bracknell Forest SACRE members. So, it's all right, Kathy.
Yeah, I've just got it. Thank you.
No worries. Thanks a lot. Ron.
Yeah. I just wanted to say, Gareth, what I wrote to you publicly, that really I struggled with this. I spent hours on this, and each time I returned to it, I was more confused than I was the last time. And in the end, I think I filled in about a third of it and just abandoned it. I think Ozzy's kind of question as to what perspective this was coming from was the thing that kept on tripping me up, because at times I thought, no, that they want to know what the Free Church attitude to this would be, and I think, no, well, do they? I suppose I was struggling to find out who you thought I was in answering the question.
That's a fair comment, but I mean, if in the light of the conversation tonight, there are any additions you want to make, more than happy to, but did respect your response in the way it came forward. That was something we were going to pick up when we looked through them anyway, but appreciate what you have completed, because I know it's actually quite complex, some of these things to pull together. Thank you. Okay, any other comments? I've got Abby now.
Yeah, hi. Just want to say how enjoyable I found it. It was a real challenge, and it was actually really interesting to be able to complete those questions. Having 2 children, one in primary, one in secondary in Bracknell Forest, sort of knowing that they'd be coming at RE questions like that in the things that they learn. Yeah, I just wanted to my comments that I found it really enjoyable. It's quite a good challenge.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? If I'm not calling you, please shout, because my screen is only letting me display half of everybody at this point. So, okay, thank you very much. We now move to item 6 on the agenda, which is the SACRE SEF. I'm over to you on this one, I think, to introduce, according to my notes.
Yes, that's fine.
Thank you.
I'm happy to introduce this.
Thank you very much.
The SACRE, the National Association of SACREs, has put together this tool, which is for SACREs to do as a regular revisit, as a self-assessment of where our strengths and weaknesses are as a SACRE. And as I look around, I see that many of the names that are here now were not here when we had a go at the previous incarnation of this document, which we must have looked at about 5 or 6 years ago. So the idea is that we will, my idea, whether the Gareth agrees is another matter, but my idea, we'll see, is that we should look at a section each meeting, so we wouldn't get through the whole document in any one academic year, but that it would provide us with an ongoing picture of the things that we're good at and the things that we're not good at, and that some of those things, and I think very quickly you'll see how this will link up with the sort of the forward plan that I know Madeleine and many of you have been working on. And some of the things that we are doing in that forward plan are going to help us to award ourselves established. But it's really useful to know what we're good at as a SACRE and where those areas for development are. And one of the best ways to do that is to actually look at the document, to think through the document and decide, you know, what do we need to do better? And because of the way it's written, it gives us some indications as to what it might look like if we were going to get better at that. So whereas, and all of this aligns with the annual report that I have to write each year for NASACA and the Department for Education. So my thinking, being a very logical person, I thought we'd start at the beginning with section 1. So because if you just ask the question, funding, professional and financial support, how well supported and resourced is SACRE by the LA exercising its statutory responsibilities? If you just ask that question, we wouldn't know whether we were good, bad, better than the average, worse than the average, or doing what we were meant to do. But looking at the criteria that are in this document should help us to work out where we are and give us some indication as to what we might need to do if we wanted to score higher, more highly in this area. So does that make sense, Gareth?
Yeah, it does. And I think the really helpful thing is that if you go down onto page 6 of the document in your agenda on this, it starts to talk about the key areas in terms of funding, financial support, and SACRE meetings, and it gives us sort of a descriptor for the the RI through to the advanced, which I thought was an interesting designation. But I mean, it just gives an idea to pitch where we are. I think relative to our past, I mean, the first thing I would say, and I think it's a credit to all SACRE members, we are now quorate more often than we used to be. We have an occasional pitch, but fundamentally we have a fantastic showing and turnout, and it's and so the first thing I'd say is I think in terms of membership, we have membership roles filled as far as possible and as timely as we can. We have a good, I think, cross-section of people, of representatives present, and we meet and we are generally quorate. Only very occasionally is there a hiccup in that. And I think that's something where I think we've moved forward on before. But I mean, how do you want to do this? Do you want people just to look down and give us sort of an idea? Are you going to sort of suggest something against each of these things as we run through?
Well, I mean, I don't know if anybody has looked at this in advance. It came out last week. What I did in preparation for this meeting was I went through and read the descriptors just for section 1, just the section on management of SACRE and partnerships. So areas 1A through to 1G. And I've written down for myself where I thought we were. So has anybody else actually done this? Did anybody look in advance?
I did it.
Sorry, Gareth, do you finish?
No, okay. I'm putting you in there. That's fine.
Okay, that's fine. So just a couple of comments. So, and I didn't read all of it. I scanned it all. Like I get a flavor of what it is. I do love frameworks. I think they're very good, especially if other people are going to do this as well. The other SACRE is going to do that. It'd be. I don't think it's about point scoring, but it's about what's our level of maturity within the SACRE. So I'm all for doing this. Doing it, I would prefer to do it collectively rather than individually, because I think you get. I mean, it's going to be impossible to do the whole at one time. So we do that. So I thought it was very good. I read that. I'm kind of let's see if we can incorporate it into the work we do. The only other flippant comment is, why would anybody write so much text in a landscape page?
Yes.
that I can take no responsibility. I am on the exec for SACRE, but I'm in charge of helping to edit and put together the briefings. So I didn't do this.
A flippant comment.
It's not. It is very text dense. I think.
Exactly.
But that's how they've done it. So I hope that the presentation of it doesn't undermine the value of it. So
well, I mean,
area 1A then. Is that how this? Shall we just have a look?
Should we just sort of? I mean, if we go through 1A to 1G tonight.
1A to 1G. Yep, that's all I was intending.
Let's just get a sense. So, I mean. Somebody's got to go first. I mean, so, and you want to just sort of pitch where you think we are with 1A then?
Well, 1A, I looked at it and I thought, well, we're probably established.
Yes.
There may be elements in which we are more advanced in that we do have a strategic plan. I think where we probably lack a bit to be advanced is that I don't think we have enough funds to help us to be really strategic. And also, although I know that Madeleine is now addressing this, so hence again there are some elements, we have not currently been linked to other local work and projects, although I know Madeleine is going to talk about that a bit later on. So that's my opinion. We have a modest budget. We can fund some initiative. Meetings are clerked, and the clerk maintains communication with the chair and other members between meetings as needed. And for better or worse, you've got Muggins here as your specialist advisor. So
I mean, so what we're saying is,
do we have a local authority? Do we have a local authority rep?
Yes, Tracy Bradshaw is here.
Hello, Tracy.
Tracy's our local authority officer, and she actually maintains very good contact with me outside of meetings and attends, where possible, the RE network meetings. Yes, I can probably screen share, Abby. Hang on.
I went through this as well, and I thought that we were probably in the established thing, so I put a tick in the established box.
I think you're right. I think we are. I would agree with the comments that have been made that we're established with moving towards the advanced stage of this. But I think the thing is that we have a functioning and established functioning SACRE. Thank you, Anka, for coming on. So, I mean, I would agree with that. I mean, everyone else broadly in agreement with the comments that have been made so far?
Yeah, I rated it as established, verging on to advanced. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's good.
So, yeah.
Thank you very much.
All right, 1B. Sorry, I can't show half a page.
No, you're doing well there. This makes my life easy because I was hopping between all the wonderful people in SACRE and the screen, so this makes it easier. 1B.
I'm so glad I have two screens. It makes my life so much easier. So so we obviously are not requires improvement or struggling because we do hold our meetings.
Yes.
I think I put again for this one that we were established with some elements of advanced, which says we have good attendance with all 4 committees. Agendas and papers are distributed well in advance and people have time to consider them. Whether they always do or not is entirely up to you lot, but the opportunity is there. We do move beyond routine matters to consider wider issues about the quality of RE and collective worship. But because we don't get much beyond that, that's why I kind of stopped at established. I mean, there are things even within established that we could probably be enhancing. We probably don't think very much about the quality of collective worship, and I know that is on the development plan, but I also know that because of COVID, we've kept pushing that one further and further down the list.
I think that's a fair comment.
But we're not ignoring it. It is there. We just aren't necessarily, it's somehow, it is in our thinking. So I don't know what anybody else thinks of that. I know that some of the plans we have, should they work, would definitely move us into advanced. I think Lizzie's got her hand up.
Yeah, Lizzie. Yeah.
Thank you, Anne. What might be useful here, which I'm stealing from EYFS, is highlighting in the step above where we currently are, things that we think that we are doing out of that in green, things that we're sort of getting there in amber, and things that we're not doing in red, so we can see very visually what we're already achieving from that box, what we need to work more on, and what might be for the future, or possibly we might want to look to improve the red areas so that you've got more amber, and then stepping everything up.
Yeah, I think that's a fair comment, and I think Lizzie, the feeling on this is that it's only in the last sort of couple of cycles we've been sort of able to start considering, as Anne's alluded to with collective worship, SACRE matters in the round. So I think what we could probably do is, if we could just take an action after this, just to pick out of the areas that we've gone through, things where we think, well, if we want to advance to the next stage, these are the key things that will do it. I mean, my view of SACRE meetings is that we have open and respectful discussions. We have embraced the needs to appropriately consider, the worldview content alongside the faith contents. We've talked training about the training resources, and I think the response to the the documents that were sent out shows that there is a level of engagement, Anne, which I think helps. I think puts us I would say we're established again with some elements of advanced, but some things we could strengthen and establish. At the end of the day, the balance between the two, I suspect, is quite subjective. What appears in the established and the advanced. So I think we're sort of on the borders there.
Yeah, and I think that's reasonable. I mean, we're all we're always going to be elements that have a higher priority at any one time. But I think the idea of rag rating it is a good idea. However, taking Dilip's point about density of text and layout, I will see. I can't remember if I've got a Word version of this. if I have a Word version of this, I may try and cut and paste each section separately into a document, which will then give us more space to rag rate it. I'm not going to attempt to rag rate it in that format, because I do take Dilip's point, and I just think, especially on the blue background, all of our eyes will go loony. So I will see if I can do some clever fettling about with it and make it more more user friendly in terms of as a working document. But if we move on to 1C, 1C, I thought we probably need to do some work on this. Membership, I think we are good. What we do not do is regular induction training and processes for new members.
I think that's a fair comment.
Although there are opportunities for SACRE members to participate in some training events, there aren't enough of them. And this is something that actually we've talked about in the hub, which I will bring up again in the December hub, as to whether actually in the new year we could start offering induction training through the hub rather than as individual SACRE.
I think that makes sort of sense. I mean,
that's better.
Yeah, that's helpful, Madeline. I think just on that, I felt that we had that I was looking back over previous membership lists and minutes going back a number of years for SACRE. I do think under the established setting here, we are so we celebrate. We are more diverse now as a SACRE. I think that's a really key step we've moved forward there. And I think what would stop us being strongly established in their terminology, as you say, training activities. But I think the fact there's an awareness to address that is not a use, you know. But I think there are elements of the advance in that, because I do think we actually co-opt appropriately. Actually, I think, you know, we've had good discussion. So again, I think it's, you know, a merging of those two there, but with the need to develop training. I mean, other colleagues do shout out. Do people think that's fair? Okay.
Yes.
So.
Yes, I think that's fair. I think I'm just been conscious of the fact that, having kind of come into SACRE in the middle of COVID, so much of what I have in my head is what I would kind of refer to as sort of book learning. I haven't had any contact with schools or real life education at this stage, and I feel kind of inadequate when we come to these things because of that.
Yeah, well, hopefully that is something that we can address moving forward, because I know we are talking about trying to host at least one meeting of the year in a school. And the forward development plan, which Madeline talked about later, should help us on that.
Yeah,
so I think we come to 1D. Sorry, Gary.
Just on that, just to say, I think the important thing is, it would be good to go back to face-to-face meeting, but I would hope that when we met face-to-face for at least one meeting a year, that we get again a good strong attendance, so that meeting could be, you know, again energizing. Because one thing I do feel, and it's a great thing, is because people have very, very, you know, busy lives, that the virtual meetings has enabled us to, I think, to achieve quoracy more often. So I think we just got to give that some careful thought. 1D.
Yeah, 1D. Improvement development planning. I thought we were very clearly established on that.
Yes.
You know, we have a development plan. It is reviewed regularly. It is updated more than annually. Thanks, Madeline. And it gives an effective focus. I mean, I think we tick almost everything there. And obviously we are regularly represented at all national events relevant. But for example, SACRE, because I go to almost all of the SACRE meetings.
Yes, I mean, I would just say on that, I think there is a strong element of advance there, because I think, Tracy, you're on the call. I do believe that the development plan that SACRE has does actually feed into aspects of the local authority planning as well. You know, the sort of inclusion, diversity, and, you know, that sense of social inclusion and understanding is very strong in the council plan, and I think this comes over here as well, and also promoting excellence in education as well, and of course. You know, RE and Wellviews is an important part of that going forward. So I think, again, there are elements advanced in that. And I say thanks, Madeline, for the work you do there.
Yeah, until I saw Madeleine's email last night, I didn't know anything about the local authorities equality and diversity plan. So although we may well be feeding into it, I have a feeling that may be, apart from you and Madeleine, that may be more by luck than good judgment.
Oh, I'd say it's by good judgment, Anne.
Because I mean, if I'm not aware of it as the advisor to SACRE, I wouldn't like to speak for how many other people on SACRE are actually.
I think, Madeleine, it's always good to have the odd secret, isn't it, really?
It is, yes.
Yeah, okay, well, fair enough.
No, actually, serious point. I think it's important then that we probably at the next SACRE just actually have, we need to have a, I think we need to have a little bit of a session on that, because I think you'll see that we can all collectively, including, and we could all get up to speed where that all fits and hangs together, because it does well.
Yeah.
And Carol, I've just seen a comment come up from you about face-to-face meetings. I think the aim is to try and have a balance, a blend. So meet face-to-face and have virtual meetings during the course of the year. But yeah, absolutely, a face-to-face meeting, I think is probably, I wanted to bring that up at the end anyway, whether people felt that the next one should be face-to-face or not. Yeah. So I think most other organisations are moving to that hybrid mode now. Is that okay, Carol?
Yeah, just as a note, we did try that in Windsor and Maidenhead, and almost everybody was unable to attend the face-to-face meeting and still all joined on Teams or Zoom or whatever we were using at the time. So it was not a total success, sadly.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I see Vicky, yeah, absolutely. I think we need to have a session just next time on inclusion and diversity and how the council's plan stacks up. And you'll see that there is a good read across between the two. And this comes on the back of actually the survey which showed that Bracknell Forest enjoys one of the highest levels of community cohesion of any local authority area in the country, which is a good starting point. So 1E we're on to now, aren't we?
1E, yep. So I said established with some areas of advanced. I think we're doing really well in this section. Probably we don't hit full advanced because I don't think we receive detailed and well analysed information about the quality and provision for RE and collective worship. We just don't get that information. And that's partly because you know, the last 2 years, SIPs have been very focused, SIPs steps, they're steps in Bracknell, sorry, working too many local authorities. The steps in Bracknell have been very much focused on sort of catch up and Ofsted and you know, gap filling. So we've not had a lot of feedback on RE and collective worship. But otherwise, you know, we are beginning to get that information. And in fact, Tracy sent me some very useful information, which as she's here, she can share, but I've got it ready to share in case she wasn't here. So that would be where I would put us again there. I don't know if anybody else.
Any other comments?
Differently.
Okay, yeah, I think, yeah.
So 1F, again, I put us in about the same area.
Yeah.
You know, we do have, we are well informed about other key stakeholders supporting RE. Oh, Rajdip's joined us, excellent.
Evening, Rajdip.
You know, many of you are supported at national level by your sponsoring bodies. Many members of here attend the annual SACRE conference and other training opportunities. I know that some of you have been taking up the SACRE training offer, and we've signed up for it again. So next one is on the 17th about the way forward, linking to the white paper. That sounds like a really useful meeting. I know Madeleine won't be able to do it because it's the interfaith meeting. I think I've got 3 different meetings in my diary that night. So I'm going to toss it in the air and decide which one I do. I guess we could ideally do with hearing more from pupils and students. We had started that because we had a very good presentation from Radula. but then we hit lockdown, so blah, blah, blah. But that's where I put us again on that one.
I think that's a fair comment, and I think the voice of the student is a key one to pull out of that. I think, you know, if there's some emerging themes for discussion for future SACREs, one might be how we intend to do that, both I think in faith settings and through schools, but I think also how we, you know, again, how we make sure that we don't just get the voice of the easy to access young people, but in the breadth and the remit of SACRE, how we're actually sort of able to reach out to young people from a range of faiths backgrounds across the borough. And, you know, emerging in different communities. For example, you know, we have a growing and strong and thriving Nepali community. In the south of the borough, we have, you know, multiple faiths represented elsewhere. So, you know, we've got a whole range of factors to put into that. But I think maybe we could link an agenda item on that to link in with the one about community cohesion and engagement and the plan that we have, because I think they do link together.
Yep. Yep. And, you know, I do think when we have face-to-face meetings, I certainly think we should make an effort, especially if we are able to meet in a school, to actually hear from some of the pupils in that school. That was what we were doing before.
It was, and it was very successful, and I think quite illuminating. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think, Vicky, you know, that's a fair comment you're making on the comments column there, which is, you know, are we developing on that? I think it is actually always good to have at least one category that's a development opportunity. I think anybody that goes through performance appraisal at work, you always have to have something that you're working on, as well as juggling all the other balls. But there we go.
Yeah.
The next one, relations with the academy sector. Well, I thought on that we were doing as well as we could, because we're academy local authority blind in terms of the way we interact with our schools. You know, they're all our schools. So, I mean, what was your take on that, Anne? I thought we were actually.
Well, I was thinking we haven't actually got any teachers from an academy here. We don't have. You know, we just don't have anybody from an academy. So,
Abby.
Yeah.
Hi, so I'm at Sandy Lane Primary School with my other hat on as a teacher.
And they're an academy.
And we're now an academy.
Greenshaw.
Right.
We're now part of Greenshaw along with Crownwood and Brackenhow, I believe it is.
So there you go.
Okay. Yeah. So, but our connection, therefore, with the academies. I mean, I agree. You know, in terms of the academies can come to the RE network meetings that we provide, and obviously King's in Binfield does attend quite a lot. But it's not something we've specifically made a point of. And, you know, maybe we need to think about whether we develop our future locally agreed syllabus with a view to making it academy thingy. That was just my take.
You see, it's an interesting point there, Anne, because I see where this sort of Seth is coming from. But I think in Bracknell Forest, I think, Tracy, you're on, generally speaking, that there is not the distinction between academy schools and local authority schools as you might find in some other LAs, which is why actually it's not something I've ever sort of raised as chair of this. But you know, I think we need to get the very best representation across schools. And Abby, it's great that you can wear multiple hats on this as well. But but I mean, you know, it might be useful to have someone from Rannoch, because if you think about the secondary sector, it's only Garth Hill now, which is not an academy.
Yes. And of course, they're the only school that we have got represented. So thank you, Claire.
So now we
need you, Claire. We need you, Claire.
So we've got that balance, but
yeah. I mean, we do need more teachers anyway. So it may be that actually that is a development point, not because we have a problem with the academies, but actually if we specifically set out to have a primary head, a secondary academy head teacher or member, you know, we could actually very specifically go to the academies and say, hello, we need your support with SACRE. Just a thought. But you know, obviously happy to take things.
Yeah,
so
Tracy, is this something that can just be working with Anne, can just be put forward to the next head teachers briefings? You know, to say that we are looking out for more teachers, you know, to come on SACRE, and for any thoughts that might be had, because I think that's a good opportunity to get some buy-in to that and explain why.
I mean, yeah, what we can do is, and I'm looking, we got Ruth on the call.
Yes.
Yeah, Ruth has just put her hand up, actually.
Oh, that's it. Sorry, Ruth, you're in the wrong corner on my screen.
Yeah, Ruth.
Ruth is actually one of our her teacher representatives,
yes.
And one of the things that we do on a regular basis, or Zoe obviously as head of standards does, is meet with Ruth and Stuart from primary, and Stuart
secondary.
Stuart from St Michael's and
oh, that's Stuart from St Michael. I get confused.
And therefore, what we can do is I can obviously have a conversation with Zoe, and then we can have the conversation about how that can then go out to other head teachers, Ruth, can't we? About that opportunity to support. I mean, obviously, Joe Klowski's deputy head at Kennel Lane, which would be really great to have a special school be part of that as well. But again, getting you know, colleagues from the academy groups involved, I think would be valuable. You've already highlighted when we go out to RE Network, we're very open with RE Network. RE Network is actually the only network that is not requested for funds. So from a point of view that every school in Bracknell Forest can choose to come to the RE Network free of charge. It doesn't matter whether an academy or not. And at this moment in time, that's what we've kept it, because we think it's really, really valuable that we do that. So I think, you know, if you're happy, Ruth, for me to have a conversation with Zoe as well, and then feed it back through that route, it's probably easier to do it that than go through briefing, because we'll get a quicker sort of turnaround on this.
Absolutely. I was just throwing out an idea, but that sounds like a really good way. Ruth, you happy with that? Anything you want to add?
Yeah, that's fine. I'd put my hand up to say that I'd be happy to help Tracy with that, to move that forward. So if Tracy and I liaise, then we can sort something out.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ruth.
And anything else? So I think overall, I mean, that's a pretty good starting point, isn't it? So maybe, Anne, what we can do before the next SACRE is just maybe pull out from those, as we said, we can do something on inclusion, diversity, something about the voice of the young person in all of this, you know, the student, and just anything else we might want to, as Lizzie says, you know, we would rate red in terms of things that we can do to move things forward. Well, I know we're going to have an AO business society where we're just going to pick up a question from the SACRE about funding, but I think in the current climate, not wishing to be a harbinger of doom, I think resources are fairly constrained in terms of local authority at this point. So we just have to do all we can. So if there are no other comments on that, and thank you for that, Anne, and we can pick up another section next time. The next item we've got, item 7, is workforce data, I believe.
Yes, I'm just trying to get back to my agenda, which I have now lost. Hang on.
It's probably on your other screen, Anne, you know, it's sort of.
No, there it is. There it is. So what happens each year, I'll screen share again if that's okay. In November each year, the Department for Education does a workforce census. I think Census Day is probably Thursday this week in schools, and schools are meant to report the number of hours that certain subjects are being taught. And what has happened, so the data that you are looking at now, I'll see if I can make it fractionally bigger. The data that you are looking at now is the data from last November. So obviously it is historic data and may well be out of date, but was also, of course, reported at a point when schools were kind of getting back to normal, but were still not totally functioning in a way. And you can see that most of our schools, the vast majority of our schools, are actually reporting quite good hours of RE. And this is secondary schools only. So we've got obviously Ranelagh, Brackenhale and Edgebarrow are recording very good hours of RE, all of those, in that RE is being taught in every year group as it should be. Where there is a zero return or where there is a dot, it doesn't mean that it isn't being taught. It might just mean that it wasn't reported, as RE.
I can see, Claire, you've got your hand up. We'll come to you in a minute.
Yeah. So basically, my question, or rather the suggestion from the lady at NATRE and RE Today, who collated this data, she suggests that we use this as conversation starters with schools to find out what is going on, and that we should ask the local authority to, because of course SACRE's job is to advise the local authority, so we should advise the local authority that they need to just find out what is happening. Now obviously Claire is more than capable of telling us what is going on at Garth, and I know there's been quite a lot going on at Garth. You know, this data does not mean that King's Academy Binfield aren't teaching RE at all in year 7, 8 or 9. It just means basically that they didn't report it. So we can go to them and have a conversation and find out what is happening. Claire, I think you want to...
Yeah, Claire, do you want to come in at this point?
Yes, please. So just to explain this a bit more, so I know that people kind of feel a bit lost when we come to numbers and stuff like that. This caused a huge row because I went back to school and I was like, this isn't true. And I was like, I have to defend this. So I went back to the business team, and I think it was like a 96 email chain. So the reason why it's actually quite a narrow list. Think the census when it's tick boxy. And so the language there is very restrictive. And so at Garth, we run a carousel. So they do citizenship, PSHE and RS. And it's not ideal and we don't have the correct numbers, but it means that there is some RE taught in year 7 and 8. And I'm very proud of the RE that's taught in year 7 and 8. And knowing King's, I've worked very closely with King's over the last 18 months because very similarly, they're a one-woman department. And the head of humanities is incredible, but it is a humanities department. So at Key Stage 3, it's humanities, it's not RS. And so because you can't explicitly say that on the form, which is why it is a bit tricky, but I promise the children are learning about religion.
Thank you, Claire. Well, I remember actually one of our last face-to-face meetings before lockdown we had at Garth. And you were really showing with us enthusiasm. Thanks, Claire. Any other comments on this? I mean, I like the idea of a conversation starter. And again, I think, Tracy, is this something that kind of sort of feeds into the the step engagement at the school, as secondary schools as well, given that there is a requirement to do this, just not necessarily to populate a table, but just to explore whether actually curriculum needs are being met.
I can definitely talk with Zoe about this because obviously the step role as it stands obviously is with schools that engage in the process. Obviously the secondary, we have an SLA to primary schools. At secondary level, because Garth is the only LA school, it's a slightly different, but what I can do is work with Zoe over this and see how we can look to have conversations around it with our colleagues within the academy structure. And I think that's really important. What we were going back to earlier was if we had that representation from the academy groups, this would help to engage in some of these conversations, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I'm mixed up to there, but I think it's just about having the conversation, as you say, around do what we can, It's part of, we look, if we look at the self-assessment, it's about how we're satisfying ourselves that these things are going on and happening, and how we can then get an estimate to record that.
I could definitely go back and have a conversation with Zoe about how we can look to achieve this for us.
Thank you very much, Tracy. Any other comments on that?
I've got my hand up.
Go for it. You go ahead, Kathy. Yeah.
I'm not quite sure about the numbers because it says in the coloured band, it says the percentage hours, and in the bottom, is it just 1% or are they hours? The figures.
They are percentages of curriculum time. So Sandhurst School in year 11 is offering 1.25% of their curriculum hours to RE in year 11. That's what I've understood by it.
And if you think you've got a 2-week timetable, that starts to give you an idea for the amount of hours that there is. And that actually would kind of fit in with what Garth does, wouldn't it, really, Claire? Which is, over a period of time, your 2-week timetable, you have, set lessons. That will be why the aggregate time appears like that.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Now, the next slide. Sorry, Anne.
All I was going to say was, so we'll probably get similar data. We will get the same kind of data next year. And I think over the course of the next couple of years, this will begin to become sort of regular and useful data, because of course Ofsted are now more and more picking up on schools that are not offering RE. So we are likely to see some improvement in the numbers.
Good. Thank you very much. So the next item is an opportunity for anyone really, to sort of feedback on any particular activity. It's the so really over to members of SACRE if there's anything you wish to share at this point. So updates from school reps, faith reps.
Shall I leap in here, or is there anyone else who wants to say something first?
Madeline, if you go first, and then Claire wants to say something, I think, at that stage. So after you, Madeline.
All right, thank you. Is it possible, Anne, to screen share the letter I sent out, or the notes I sent out last night? Because
yes, it should be. Just give me a moment.
Thank you. This is actually not our project, but don't tell anybody that. We are looking at the Bratton Forest Council's equality and diversity policy, which some of you may have done some work on having input to, which has just this year been published. It goes from 2022 to 25 and is supposed to provide services in the borough that meet the needs of everyone. Now, one of the things that the team producing that and responsible for it did was to have a look at actually Interfaith Week and the variety of faith groups that we have within the borough, and to say, they put out an advert in the Community and Charity News the end of October, that it would be good to give people the opportunity to come along from different faith groups, say what their faith means to them, how they live their lives according to their religion, and of course what the borough means to them and how it all fits in. That's number 2 on here. And so they put out this request. They were going to make videos which would take about half an hour for people to discuss that. They put out a general advert across the borough, and 1 or 2 people responded, and in fact a lot of people didn't even read it. Fortunately, Dilip did read it, said to me, do you know about this? And I was then able to send it out to quite a number of other people, because I'd been given, or we'd been given, a policy email address. So not liking to have a policy to communicate with, I did write to it and say, can I have some names? And I was given the name of technician who was actually going to do it, who was a gentleman in the council by the name of Adam Pyle. And he very quickly put me on to the person in charge of the department for equality and diversity, the communications officer for that, Harjit Punjan, who actually is listening to our meeting this evening, quietly in the background. And it occurred to us when we started to talk about what they were asking for and sharing it with the various faith groups and the people about the town, that in fact, there was a lot in there that we were trying to do, or could be a lot in there that could feed into the third action of the forward plan.
Yeah, very much so.
Because you know, people would have the opportunity to say things, and if it was possible for it to feed into the forward plan, why didn't we look at it a little more broadly and say, well, why don't we do things that could specifically, can't do them by Interfaith Week, which is next week, but we could extend it and enlarge the project to do things from the faith groups that were actually suitable for going into assembly, either on, well, at this stage on video, that might be particular faith teaching bites that people could actually use, because the possibility was that it would be on the council's web, and of course with council doing it, all the right safeguarding provisions would automatically be there as this was done. So we wanted
Yeah, no, it's okay, it's good. Yeah.
So we wanted to get some things going, which we think we can. We haven't yet got a plan. The plan has got to be devised, and obviously I will need your help as to how we do that, because in doing that we can work together. We had a quick look at which councillors were involved in SACRE, and we not only have the mayor and the deputy mayor, plus two fairly recently former mayors, who were also very engaged, or had been, with the community. Not to mention Gareth, who is just a little engaged with some of the schools. And therefore there was the opportunity to build a plan where you got perhaps a conversation or a discussion or a little video. And even then, the schools could invite people on the video from the various faiths to go into school as real people and perhaps do something further or assist further.
I think Mona, it's really powerful, and I think you put the item there, next steps for item 12, the full plan. I think if we take this bit as read into that, I think that's really helpful. And of course, you're right that there are members on SACRE which can really contribute to that. Thank you for that. Tracy? And then Alan. I think you're on mute, Tracy. On mute, sorry, not mute. I think you're on mute. That's it.
Yeah, it's okay. It didn't release. No, I just wanted to feedback. And we haven't managed to feedback on the RE network meeting.
I think that's on the next one.
Is
that's
it?
The next
Have I
item.
missed it?
No, it's the next item.
Oh, sorry, I did miss it then. Apologies.
Cool. Not to worry. So I've got Alan and then Ozzy. There we go.
Okay, just by way of reports back from the faith group members, I was invited to talk about humanism to Edge Barrow School, year 10, I think, in year 11.
Okay.
And I did so. So some of it is going on already.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Alan. Ozzy and then Claire.
With respect to what Madeline was talking about, videos, I believe I sent Anne a video that I made with a teacher at Westcott Infant School during one of the lockdowns when she wanted me to talk about Passover. And I just wonder if it's a useful resource.
Yeah.
Too long, too short, this is good, this is bad, as perhaps a jumping off point for what might be in it.
I don't think I've received that, Ozzy.
Oh, okay, I will have a hunt around and see if I can find it.
Because
teacher,
if you did, it might have landed at a point when my inbox had over 150 items in it and got lost. Yeah. So
you're refreshingly honest about this, Anne. So.
Yeah. Well,
don't worry. I can't
have
criticize.
Either that or COVID brain has eaten what was left of my brain. I have no idea. So yeah, if you could resend it, that'd be great. Yeah. Okay.
I certainly had it as well.
Oh, sorry, I didn't catch what you said, Madeline. Sorry.
I certainly received it as well.
Oh, you have received it. So, well, at least I know I've sent it then.
Oh yes.
Okay.
And it was a superb resource.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering if that sort of thing might be useful.
Absolutely.
or give a jumping off point of this is too much or this is too little, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
So
thank you. Thank you, Ozzy. Claire.
So just a couple of things from Garth. So we had all these wonderful trips planned in the summer term, and then just to announce I'm pregnant, so that has put a slight spanner in the trip works, which is very exciting for me, but not as much for my line managers and the trips and stuff. So we had a number of wonderful things that are now being postponed a year. We had a Rome trip lined up. We had trips to Watford, the Icon Centre in Watford.
Oh, wow.
So we're still hoping to do local places of worship over the next couple of months, let them get through exams, mock exams and stuff. Next week I have booked in assemblies, so I will be running the assemblies next week.
I think, Ron, you're sharing your screen with us. Oh, I think, Ron, you're still sharing your screen with us, but I don't know how we take back control. Ron, can you hear me?
ooh.
Ooh.
I'm not sure this is what you want to show. I think it looks something vaguely musical. Oh.
I don't know.
I don't think we can do anything.
There we go.
Oh, that's better. Thank you, Ron. That's great.
So I've got
very technical. Over to you, Claire, again. Sorry.
I've got all 4 assembly slots next week, so I will be doing about interfaith. And so very, very excited for that. I spoke to my Year 11 RE lot today, and they helped me refine things and kind of how we're doing about the importance of interfaith and the importance of knowing about faiths. And then with my other hat on, we have a really, really good cohort of trainees this year. One of them is in Ranelagh, is looking to stay local. So I have already mentioned it to my senior members on my senior leadership team. He is brilliant and he wants to stay within Bracknell Forest. He has moved. So really exciting time. And in February, once we have a date, I will send it out in case anyone wants to come. I'm going to be really mean to both sixth formers and my trainees, and they're going to run a revision day for my year 13s looking at A-level Christianity, philosophy and ethics. And so I will send that out if anybody wants to attend. It'll be at Reading University, but quite nice to make those links and kind of use them while we have them as well, which is really nice.
Thank you. Good. So we now move on to the next item, Tracy, which is feedback from the RE network. There we go, Tracy. It's you. Yes.
No, that's brilliant. In fact, it's Anne and myself. So Anne actually obviously delivers. I sit in the background, don't I, Anne, doing the technical bits behind the scenes, but also making sure that we look to get as many people at the network meeting as we possibly can. And I have to say again, we've continued to stay virtual at this moment, but as Anne has alluded to, we are looking to go out to schools and have already secured Kennel Lane Special School to host the summer RE network, which I think is really great. Yeah. And again, also demonstrates obviously Joe's real keenness to be a part of what we are doing here.
Thank you.
But in terms of numbers, again, we sat around 10 colleagues attended from the different schools, and again, they were really impressed with the quality of the session. The focus being for them was, again, we had a real in-depth discussion, didn't we, Anne, in relation to the focus. Do you want to sort of give a bit of a detail in relation to that, or?
Yeah, we were looking at really what it means to be a subject leader and how you inspire and assist other members of staff, because particularly in primary schools, the RE leader may not themselves be very much of a specialist, and so actually asking a non-specialist to support people who are even less specialist is quite a challenge. So this was the kind of thing we were looking at, is that what is it that you need to do to be an effective subject leader? So we talked a bit about monitoring, we talked a bit about supporting, we talked a bit about where to go and get resources. And we encouraged teachers to share as much as possible of what they were already doing and what they were doing that worked. And what we have done this year is we've set the meetings for the whole year. So we've already got the schedule for next term set. We know what we're doing. I can't remember what we're doing, but it is written down on a piece of paper and all the teachers have got it. So, you know, and the feedback was again positive, and the engagement of teachers on the day was positive, which, you know, is in one sense even more important than the feedback. But yeah, so I think that was a good session, and hopefully it's encouraged people that they can do this and they can do this job.
Thank you very much.
I think one of the things that really came out of it again was things such as preparing for Ofsted, wasn't it? We had the conversation. Colleagues are really keen to understand, and because and this is part of the data that I've sort of accrued for the last year in terms of Ofsted in Bracknell Forest, we haven't had a deep dive in RE. Actually, we did have one, but it was a while back. And I do know that Wokingham have had one that's been reported on as well. So it's about us being enabling our colleagues within the schools to have that opportunity to listen to other colleagues about what it's like to be a subject leader, going through a deep dive in RE, because that's something that is you know, if we go to PPG meetings, if we go to send Thinko Forum, etc., that is happening. Other networks are actually being able to feed back on what those experiences are, and we have a very, very limited pool for some reason at this moment in time to be able to feed back on. They also are really keen to understand what RE and how to adapt RE to support young people with SEND. So that's something that's really good, because my background is SEND, and I will be able to work with Anne about looking at how do we really make that a very engaging, you know, sort of a learning experience for young people. So something for us to look forward to, sort of developing moving forward, isn't it, Anne?
Yeah,
Claire's got her hand up.
Claire's got her hand. Claire, you want to come back in on that?
Yeah, it was just something like on the back of what you said, Tracy, is that our PSHE and citizenship team are having a deep dive on Thursday. And because I'm on the cusp of it, I don't really know what's happening, I'll be perfectly honest. I'm ready to answer my questions, but that's it. We've just been told someone from the council's coming in.
I believe it's my colleague, Zoe. I think you've got Zoe Livingston in.
I think it is Zoe from the governor there, yes.
That rings a bell. But that's what I was thinking. And Anna's just said, you know, they've done very few deep dives, but Maiden Early and Reading were one of them. So Maiden Early were one of them, and she's done fantastic feedback. But I would really appreciate the opportunity to have someone come in as a deep dive or a practice deep dive. And this is what we were talking about today, is the citizenship one allows questions that we wouldn't think of, and things to iron out, that it gives us a different perspective. So as a head of department, I would absolutely adore a deep dive from the council. I don't think many people normally say that, but I really would, because otherwise I'm going to keep doing the same things, and especially with the numbers that are going forward from our workplace census and things like that. I think Ofsted would have a particular interest in RE at Garth.
And I think, given that I think the best hunch is that Garth is in the Ofsted window for this time next year, I think that's really good. I think it's about the peer-to-peer sharing, and it's really promoted, isn't it? It's about schools working together, to promote what they're doing. So that's great on that. Thank you very much, everyone. And it's good to see the networks going, and that that you're getting a good turnout of committee people. But I think one of the things, hopefully, that will come out of the the curriculum refresh as well, is how actually we can help more subject leaders and teachers engage in this by actually, with all the resources we've got, making it more intuitive and bringing some confidence. So I think, Claire, you've got the passion there. We know there's the commitment and passion from other schools, but I think it's about providing that support. And do you want to comment on that before we move on to feedback on the SACRE newsletter?
I was gonna say that Tracy did also have some Ofsted feedback. I don't know if she'd like to share that. I can share that there is no SIAMS feedback because they haven't done any inspections yet this term in Bracknell Forest. The only school that's in the SIAMS window is St Michael's in Sandhurst, and they have not yet had the call. But Tracy, I think you've got some feedback on.
I've got some feedback for you. So obviously at the moment, so we're taking obviously the last academic year, we had 9 schools undertake inspection last year. 5 of them were academies, 1 secondary, 8 primaries, and all last year were judged to be good through the process. We've got 2 currently awaiting reports, so obviously I can't feedback any further on that, but obviously once that data comes out, I will check it to look to see what any feedback, particularly focusing on RE and collective worship. But I can tell you, so just a few bits, that Bracknell, just if you aren't aware, we are ranked 7th out of the 163 local authorities at the moment. So that's 98.1 good and outstanding schools in Bracknell Forest. So that's something to be really very proud of.
Absolutely.
And just having a look through some of the reports, when we had St Joseph's, their inspection, and as you would expect, it was highlighted, but obviously they would be looked at in terms of their RE lessons would be looked at differently because of the makeup of their school. But in the report, it does talk about the school's religious values provide a firm framework for its friendly, welcoming and inclusive atmosphere. The school's motto, we are growing on our journey of achievement with Jesus in our hearts, heads and hands. It also talks about pupils study a range of world religions and learn to respect the views and beliefs of others. Great Hollands talked very much, they had a statement around pupils understand and are respectful of the differences between different faiths and different people. I think Warfield Primary School, I think it is, looking at that, I've put some different names again, or initials against them. Leaders prioritise developing pupils' respect of others. Pupils learn to value other people's beliefs, including in RE lessons. They enjoy visiting the local church to enrich this learning.
I think that was Warfield, because I was at the feedback there.
I was going to say, I'm 99% sure that was looking at it. But as I say, we haven't had any deep dives this year take place in RE. And I think, as Claire has alluded to, it would be really valuable for us to have those experiences, to be able to feed back to subject leaders in primary and subject leaders in secondary, so that they can really ensure they have a real, crisp and clear understanding of what that expectation looks like for their subject.
Thank you.
And be able to really celebrate the work that they are doing in school.
And I think, Tracy, thank you so much for sharing the percentage of good and outstanding schools, because as a small local authority, one school can make a significant percentage difference. So that's ranked against authorities that have hundreds of schools. And as a lead member, I think has been one of my missions since I took on this role to support everyone in schools who've done a phenomenal job to get to that point. And of course, that has great implications for those children with additional needs, and looks after others, because they can go to a good and outstanding school for their education, which is all part of that goes on. But thank you very much, and some great feedback from Ofsted. So on to, I think next is the SACRE newsletter. Any feedback from that? So I think, Anne, we just ask for any comments anyone has. And the silence.
If people would like to contribute some articles for the January edition, that would be much appreciated. That will be going out, let's be realistic, that'll be going out the start of the second week in January. So, anything connected with your faith or worldview, and anything that you think teachers would find really helpful is welcome. Particularly though, I mean, for example, Alan, I know you gave us a very brief report of your visit to whichever school it was. Now I can't remember. Edgebarrow, Sandhurst, Edgebarrow. Yeah. But actually, writing up the report and maybe going back to the school and getting some of the pupils to write a report. So we say we don't hear much from the pupils, but actually we could have report from pupils about a visit in a newsletter. So if you do go into schools, write a report. That would be lovely.
Thank you.
It would be better if the pupils wrote the report, of course. Also, I think I did submit a summary of my view of what humanism is about for the last newsletter. So I don't know whether people read it, but I hope it might have clarified some issues.
It did. Yeah. Thank you. Rosie?
Hi, I'm back. I was going to ask, I think, and I'm happy to contribute something for the newsletter. I was going to say, Claire, could I liaise with you? Because I think rather than writing things that I think people might be interested, it'd be useful to get some feedback of what you'd like to hear about. So, for example, today is Gurpurv, the birth date of Guru Nanak Dev Ji. I've got my profile, and I was looking on something random 10 schools. A few schools are posted. It'd be useful to actually just come back to you and say these are the things we could write about, which going to happen in December, January, and February as well. So, what you'd like to be, what you would, students or teachers might want to hear about. So that's what I was going to say for the newsletter.
Thank you very much. That's helpful. Thanks a lot. The next item I've got is the virtual training program. I think it's there for noting, isn't it? Anything that and that we need to just pick up on that?
Yeah, it's just if you want to attend any of the sessions, please ask Derek to book you onto them. You need to be booked by the nearest we have at the moment to a SACRE clerk, which is Derek. You can't.
And he really enjoys doing it. So just
it's not difficult, but we can send as many people to as many of the sessions as we want because we've paid the extra 50 quid. So do take them up on the training. There is a good one on collective worship coming up. The one on the impact of the white paper will feature on the 17th of November, will feature Charles Clark, who is the patron of SACRE and former MP and everything. So it should be a very good session.
And it helps. We look at the self-evaluation. It helps us on that. Dilip, over to you.
Yeah, just on that, because I noticed that they have a two-tiered pricing structure for the courses. One is for members and one is for non-members.
Yeah, we've paid the subscription, so anybody on Bracknell Forest SACRE can go free to all the training because we've paid the subscription. So we're members. We're members of NASACRE, subscribed members, but we've paid the additional £50, which gave us access to all of the training for the whole year. So we don't have to pay anything more, however many people attend.
So to attend, do we need to get
you
somebody
need to get Derek to book? You need to get Derek to book you on.
Right.
But there is no cost. There's no additional cost to you or to SACRE, and all of those meetings are online.
That's good to know. Thank you.
Because they're national, so you know. So yeah, so do get booked on. No problems, Dilip. Thank you.
You're on mute, Gareth.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just to say that in terms of actually recruiting a permanent clerk for SACRE, Derek and Hannah are on the case at the moment. They're working on it. So
is Lizzie not coming back?
Well, at the moment, we need to, you know, Derek has stepped in, but it's finding someone who can sort of, until Lizzie comes back or whatever happens, you know, can take on the more substantive role, because Derek is spread quite thinly on a range of things.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. So, I think that now takes us to, Madeline, in terms of the full plan. I know we've got quite a lot of information about it. In terms of where we are, do you want to just really briefly update us where we are on this then? Thanks.
Where we are now is that we have to sort of have a look at how we're going to progress working with community engagement.
Yeah.
So I think the best first step is to have an online meeting of the subgroup.
I think so, yes.
And just to mention, if anyone else, Ruth Jackson said she would like to be a part of the subgroup looking at it. And if anybody else would like to be part of that subgroup, let me know.
That would be helpful. Just to say, for those new members that joined during lockdown, this was going to be a very strong element of the, you know, the practical delivery of our forward plan that we put in place before lockdown. It had become more difficult, but I think as this meeting this evening has highlighted, I think, you know, that engagement across the broader community, but also capturing the voice of you know, students, you know, the children, young people who are our students, is going to be key. And I think maybe if we can have that subgroup meeting between now and the next SACRE, maybe the next SACRE, when we look at community cohesion and capturing the voice of the students, we can tie it all together. Does that fit in terms of what you think, Madeline?
I think so. I will ask one of the other members to chair it, because I shall be in the Southern Hemisphere. But
we've got telephones there and internet.
Yeah.
I will talk to you later, Dylan.
I'd like to volunteer working with you again.
Absolutely, it was good, wasn't it? Yeah, it was very, very good there. So it's okay, everyone. I think that's, you know, and appreciate that, because I think you captured quite an essence of the extra bits that you wanted to on the you know, we talked on item 8. So anything else on the forward plan?
And is there anybody who has anything they want to say about the work we might do on getting videos and then moving on to introductions into schools?
Yeah, I think that's something to take off on, but I think it's I think that's going to be quite key. And I think maybe, Claire, you could probably help us there in terms of how we best get into schools in that regard.
Yes. Yeah. So,
okay.
Any Yeah.
Chair, can I just make a point?
I shall contact the current SACRE current subgroup members in due course.
Yeah.
Probably sooner rather than later in the first instance.
Okay.
And then we can look at how we can best progress it with people involved.
Yeah. Thank
especially
you.
People from the council involved.
Yeah. And do you want to come in first, or should I bring Anchor in first?
Bring Anchor in first.
Anchor and then Anne. There we go.
Thanks, Chair. No, I just wanted to respond to what Madeline was saying in terms of role from councillors and videos, etc. Given that I am myself from the ethnic background and the first ethnic diversity minority mayor in the borough, if I can assist in any way, I'll be more than welcome to.
That's very helpful. Thank you, Anchor.
So let's
I will back up the fact that actually I think in his role, Anchor has done an outstanding job in terms of reaching out to community. So I think if we can capture that while you are both on SACRE and Mayor, Anchor would be absolutely great. I think
sure.
so.
It'll be a pleasure. Thank you.
Brilliant.
It wouldn't
Thank you very much.
be embarrassing for you and him to be at the same subgroup meeting.
Well, there we go. Anne.
Yeah, what I was going to say was kind of what we're talking about in terms of bringing sort of places of worship and videos and stuff. There is some free training being offered by the new RE hubs, which the flyer for which should have been attached to the latest NASACRE briefing, which I think Derek sent on to every member of SACRE. They're offering free training for host places of worship on how to host visits. It's an hour and a half, and if the place of worship joins this training, they will then get a kite mark and would be put on a national website, so that they would be they would be nationally recognised to sort of host visits. So if anybody is interested, I think the flyer was attached to the NASACRE newsletter, but I have sent it to Derek, but obviously he's not been at work yesterday or today, so he won't have sent that on. You possibly saw it last night, Gareth.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
So that might be a way that we can link what we're doing. So it won't replace what we're doing, but it might link and support what we're doing with a national event, a sort of a national initiative, rather. So, Madeleine, I think, yes, I did copy you into that. So if you want to have a look at that flyer and see how you think that might go out to places, how that could be distributed so that other places of worship across Bracknell Forest know about it, that would be really helpful. I mean, that may be something that Carol and Delapu and Abby and Vicky can also help with. So, and Ron as well.
Sorry,
and Ossie. And Ossie, sorry,
and
yes.
Ossie.
I'm just, maybe I'm getting the wrong end of the stick here, but why does a place of worship need training in how to host visitors?
Because there are many places of worship. Maidenhead Synagogue is not one of those, but there are many places who actually do not know what to do when children arrive. And will actually, rock up, and this is no offence to the Church of England, of which I am a member, but will actually send the oldest church warden they can possibly wheel out, who talks to the children about stuff that is completely, absolutely and utterly irrelevant. Now, I know that doesn't happen at Maidenhead Synagogue.
No, I'm one of the people who host visitors.
No, I know, but there are places that actually do not know what to do.
Thank you.
And you know, need to know how to adapt what they're doing to the different age groups.
Lovely.
So
thank you, Carol. Yeah, Claire, I think, and I've seen that happen as well. Carol, do you want to come in? No, thanks.
Yeah, I perfectly agree with what Anne was saying, and actually in my previous sort of experiences, because of being in my secular roles up until about 7 years ago, I was involved with travel and tourism, and welcome and hospitality was a big part of that. And likewise, I was also involved with the group that sort of worked across South Yorkshire and North Nottinghamshire, and across not only Church of England or other denominational sort of places of worship, but also a variety of places of worship, which was interfaith and that kind of thing. And it's important, and it's actually really, really, you know, we may think, oh yeah, we can do that, we can do welcome, we can do, but it's actually important as to how as to what discernment goes on as to who welcomes the children, as Anne was referring to earlier, and also just simple basic things that we can all take for granted and that can actually make a person say yes or no with regards as to whether or not they want to interact in whatever way, whether it be a child visiting or an adult visiting. It's really, really vital and important, and so it enables sort of our places of worship to remain and to continue to be welcoming and accommodating places for everybody.
And satisfy the needs of inquiring minds. You know, the first impression, you know, those first few minutes and seconds count, you know. I always remember an esteemed education is saying, particularly when it comes to secondary children, the fundamental job is to actually broker a deal whereby that they're happy to be coerced into an element of learning alongside their social lives. So it's the idea very much that you know, by engaging early on, that you bring people in, because I bet if we had time, and sadly we haven't, we could probably all go around this room and we could probably remember some of the first interactions we had with the faith that we are members of, and some might be good, some might not. And you know, we want young people and children to feel really at home. I think the videos, by the way, can I just say, do a really good job actually in bringing children into that. I think that's one of the key strengths of them. But I think, you know, in person, they go there. Good. Well, look, thank you very much. And again, thank you, Madeline, for the work that you continue to do on this. And I think we've got you know, some good steps laid out for the next few months on that. I should have said at the start, and has just tabled some brief items of any other business. Do you want to just take us through them and carry that? So the first one is?
Yeah, the first one is there. If you haven't seen the NASACRE briefing, NASACRE needs a new vice chair. What happens is the vice chair is vice chair for a year, and then they take over as chair, supported by the previous chair, who sort of moves into an executive, a higher executive position. We haven't actually had a vice chair of NASACRE for quite a while. So if anybody is actually interested in sort of being involved at a national level with what is going on with RE and collective worship, contact me and I can tell you a bit more about it and how it works.
That's very good.
So
thank you.
The second item is that this is just to let the local authority know that NASACRE is also in the process of putting together another Freedom of Information request about funding, because NASACRE is very aware that funding is very tight, and therefore NASACRE needs to find out what impact funding restrictions are having on SACRE. So it's you know, a national thing. So the Freedom of Information will be coming out.
Yeah, I mean, I think, just if I can make an observation, that I think local authorities provide the information that there is with FOI requests. It takes it to a level and a place which might not always be viewed as being helpful. Let's put it like that. I think in Brattle Forest terms, it is helpful because, you know, we do fund SACRE, but at a time when local government funding is under constraint, I'm just trying to get my head behind the thought behind FOIing it, rather than actually a straightforward request for understanding. But that's clearly you know, the way they're going about it.
Yeah, that was made at a higher level than me, because I don't
really I know,
understand
absolutely. You know, you're the messenger on this.
I'm just the messenger.
Yeah.
Also in the briefing, and this might be really useful, because I know last time we had some discussion about what's meant by worldviews and how do we find out. St. Gabriel's. So if you haven't looked at the briefing, St. Gabriel's is offering some free online training, about 90-minute courses, which you can start and stop, and you know they're not tested. You don't have to do an exam at the end of it, but they would be really worth really worth having a look at, particularly if you've got questions about what is really meant by an RE worldview. What do we really mean by curriculum when we're talking about it? And then I wanted to ask a question about Holocaust Memorial Day. SACRE is generally quite keen that schools do something on Holocaust Memorial Day. And I just wondered, because I'm very ignorant, if Bracknell Forest ever did anything for Holocaust Memorial Day.
I'm not sure of the answer of that. Tracy, do you?
I would have to, I was going to say, I'd have to go back and check. Normally anything, when it comes to any of the big days, we do send out information via our education
I think
and learning newsletter. But I haven't seen anything specifically come to me about it.
I know individual schools do, but I'm not aware of a borough-wide event that we do. But I think can we take that away? And I think maybe Anne can work with the Mayor's Office as way to understand what we're doing. I think that's a good call there.
I mean, you know, if the answer is we don't do anything, then at least that's an answer. I think.
Yeah, Ozzy.
Reading Council do a memorial event. I wonder if that is intended to cover all the various areas.
That's useful to know. So we'll take that away and just understand what's going on, because I think we have in the past referenced it through some of our work, but I'm because the last 2 years have been just a bit different. I'm not quite sure what's in place at the moment, but maybe Anka through the Mayor's Office.
There will be an event on the 25th of January.
Yeah.
In Reading, but I think it's the first live one because of COVID. Yeah. All the others have been online, but I think it's the first one. Yeah.
Thank you. Claire.
There are a lot of wonderful things that people can sign up to through both UCL and the Holocaust Memorial Trust. We have previously been able to bring sixth formers to Bergen-Belsen, and I know of a couple of local schools. I know of one school, they're a bit more Reading way, is actually currently in Berlin and will be in Auschwitz on Friday. So as you say, a lot of local schools are doing things individually, but I don't think we'd mind teaming up and stuff. I know particularly at Heathfield, Karen Oster is incredible, and the work that she does around Holocaust Memorial Day with local schools is brilliant. So I think there is scope for us to work together on it.
I think that's very good, Claire, because my eldest daughter went on a trip to Auschwitz, and included in that was a meeting with a Holocaust survivor, and she said, I could just tell when she came out of this meeting, it was the most profound experience that I think she would argue that she's had in her life to date. And you know, I think it's such an important thing in terms of that broader learning as well, I think, to learn. But no, thank you, Claire, for sharing those. I've got Dilip and then Carol.
It's Carol first.
Sorry, Carol. I didn't see which order the hands went up.
That's okay.
Forgive me, Carol. This is sort of Zoom protocol. After you, Carol.
That's fine. That's no problem. Just a couple of brief things on sort of what Claire was saying, and in general about the Holocaust thing. And that's just to say that that I know sort of my brother-in-law Gary Clarkson, he is actually a specialist in in the Holocaust and all that kind of thing. And I know he has been over in Germany and Poland and things. So if anybody needs anybody to come and talk about that situation, then please do let me know, and I can try and arrange for him to come and see them. Likewise, we're talking about going further afield, like to Auschwitz and to other places, and I'm just aware that schools and people's budgets are sort of under strain, and there's actually an excellent Holocaust, National Holocaust Museum up in Nottinghamshire, in Laxton. And if you've not been there, please do go there, because it's actually it's an award-winning exhibition on Kindertransport, and often they get Holocaust survivors to talk about that there, and it's a really, really good thing, and talks about Holocaust past and present, and goes through the various people that were affected in the Holocaust, obviously the Jews being the majority of people, but it also goes through the Roma and also Black, gay, disabled. It covers quite a multitude of people who were badly affected by the Holocaust then, and also covers Rwanda and Burundi and all places like that as well, where there have been more recent Holocausts. So it's really,
that's helpful, Carol. Thank you very much for that. Thank you.
Oh, just finally, just before we just on a slightly different point, but I just thought I'd better let you know, because it's on behalf of SACRE, obviously the RHSE sort of thing was cancelled yet again, and they've decided to move it online, and basically it's to talk about RHSE in primary schools from a faith perspective. And myself, Adrian and Ron got together and wanted to present and planned a presentation on behalf of all faiths. And so we basically took a broad, the broader view of what the main things were and are amongst people of faith approaching RHSE. And so anyway, I've been asked now to sort of do a presentation online, and it will be next June. So just to let you know,
thank you very much.
That's still going. So okay.
Thank you.
Shut up now.
No, thank you, Carol. No worries. Thanks. I'll do it.
Yeah, very quick one. Madeline, are you going to mention the Memorial Day service, Remembrance Day service?
I can do.
I think we should, just to let people know that we're talking about representation here.
Yes, we are. Okay. Well, there are two small points, or large points, depending on how you look at them. The Interfaith Forum decided it wished to participate in replaying at the memorial service on Sunday on behalf of all the people from overseas countries, many of the Commonwealth countries and so on. So we actually have 3 different faiths who will be laying the wreath on behalf of
that's really good.
The other thing just to mention is that on Thursday the 17th we have the Interfaith Week event where we have 6 different faith speakers on the subject of the role of prayer in faith.
Thank you.
And excellent speakers we have got, including 2 members of SACRE.
Good. Thank you very much for that. I'm looking there, and has that covered all your AOBs?
Yes,
I think it
absolutely.
Has.
Yeah. The one question I would have for Madeleine is, has the interfaith session on prayer been advertised to schools?
No, it hasn't gone in schools.
Could it?
It could. Is that possible to do that?
I mean, I will have mentioned that something was happening in the newsletter, but obviously it wasn't. I don't think it was fixed when the newsletter went out.
Tracy, can we work with the powers that be just to get some information out, please?
Yeah, we can work definitely with. If Madeline, if you could get something over to me, I can make
sure
it goes into the education.
I'll send you the invitation.
Yeah, we can get something into the education newsletter that will go out Thursday/Friday this week.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Em.
Thank you very much. Well, colleagues, I think that is the end of the agenda plus the AOBs. Can I thank everyone for joining us? I think it's been a really full meeting. We have covered. I've just made some notes. We have covered a huge amount of ground in the meeting tonight. Thank you very much. It's been a really busy 2 hours. I think a lot of us have got a bit of homework to do following this. I think on the forward plan we've got some work to do, so thinking about that. But can I thank everyone? I think including as well. I've had several people that have come to me and commented on the role that schools had and the faith community more broadly had in supporting residents following the death of Her Majesty the Queen. There was a huge amount of interplay and work on that, and I think it was very positive and heartening the way this was actually approached. And I think it's all credit to our schools that were able to work at this from a range of different angles, because it was a very, very I think it's one of those moments in the history of this country that was huge. But also, I think a lot of people felt this very personally. But there was a huge amount of work that went on, and I'll pay tribute, Carol, to the work, of course, you did, because at the last minute you're unfortunately unable to take part in the long planned reflection and service, but that was unfortunately that dreaded COVID thing once again there. But I think the community came together very strongly, and that's in no small measure down to the cohesion, face working together. Lots of things were said, very positive things were done, and I think that's a great reflection on our whole community. So on that note, can I thank everyone for coming this evening?
Thank you.
We used to be able to say safe journey home, but of course I think if you navigate your way to the kitchen or where else, that's great. But thank you so much.